Tonight's breaking news is one of those moments where the United States finds itself in the global spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Donald Trump, who is already widely known for his bad behavior at home, has once again managed to create an international stir with his actions abroad. And the problem is not just about style or personality. It's about foreign policy, global diplomacy, and how the leader of the United States represents the American people in front of the world. Trump's behavior has been a consistent theme. That very sentence could branch off in a dozen different directions because there are countless examples. But most notably, when he travels overseas and deals directly with foreign leaders, his approach shifts from being merely controversial to being an outright diplomatic problem. It becomes an issue not only for him, but for the entire country. And that's what makes this breaking development so significant. It's not about one gaffe or one awkward exchange. It's about a pattern of disregard that carries consequences for America's standing in the world. We have seen this pattern before. Here in the United States, Trump spends an extraordinary amount of time demeaning and disparaging foreign leaders. Think about the way he speaks about Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. The dismissiveness, the casual insults, the way he undermines leaders trying to navigate war and crisis. That style is not confined to domestic rallies or interviews. It travels with him. And when it appears on the global stage, it changes the stakes. If you don't recall, remember one of the earlier encounters when Trump met with an African leader who spoke of peace, security, and the resources available in his country. Instead of listening carefully or engaging seriously, Trump cut the meeting short. His dismissive tone was clear. "Maybe we're going to have to go a little bit quicker than this because we have a whole schedule," he said. It was as if diplomacy were a nuisance, and the dignity of another leader could be brushed aside with a wave of impatience. That clip resurfaced because it illustrates the same dynamic we are seeing again. And then there was the G7. Remember that infamous moment when Trump demanded to be in the front row of the photo op, posturing as if the entire summit revolved around him? He shoved aside the norms of international gatherings, which are designed to project unity and equality among nations. Instead, he presented himself as someone who believed he deserved to stand at the center, no matter the optics, no matter the tradition. It wasn't just a bad look. It was a clear message that he placed himself above the group. These incidents sound familiar because they are. They repeat. Trump constantly puts himself first. That even extends to his own family. Recall the time when his then 11-year-old son appeared behind him in the pouring rain. Trump shielded himself, but left his child exposed to the weather. The same with his wife, who walked behind him without protection. Small moments, yes, but revealing. They capture a worldview in which optics and self-preservation matter more than courtesy or respect, whether toward family, allies, or institutions. But when it comes to overseas visits, the pattern grows sharper. His trip to the United Kingdom brought some of the clearest examples. Meeting Queen Elizabeth II, Trump kept her waiting for more than 15 minutes in the heat. For a head of state, that alone was a significant breach of protocol. Then, during the troop inspection, he turned his back on the monarch and walked ahead of her. Royal etiquette, while ceremonial, is taken seriously. Never turn your back on the monarch. Never walk in front of her. Yet Trump did both. Whether it was ignorance or indifference, the result was the same. A headline-grabbing moment that embarrassed not just him, but the United States. And this is not isolated history. It continues. In this breaking report, during another London visit, Trump managed to dismiss King Charles as if he didn't even exist. Think about that. A sitting U.S. president in a country that is one of America's closest allies, treating the monarch with visible disregard. It wasn't a slip of the tongue. It wasn't an accident. It was consistent with how he has approached nearly every foreign leader he encounters, with the assumption that he can dominate the stage, take the spotlight, and ignore the traditions that keep diplomacy running smoothly. So where do you begin with this man? The truth is, you don't need to search far. His behavior fits the same script every time. Trump acts as if foreign diplomacy were a VIP pass to Disneyland. He behaves as though he is paid for front-row access and can stand wherever he chooses, regardless of the rules. But diplomacy is not a theme park ride. It's the careful management of relationships between countries, cultures, and institutions. And in this arena, the rules are not trivial. They are the glue that holds alliances together. Here is the central problem. Trump has already been president once. He has already traveled abroad. He has already represented the United States in meetings with world leaders. In other words, he has been here before. Yet nothing has changed. He has not learned, not adjusted, not improved. The same disregard, the same breaches of etiquette, the same habit of putting himself ahead of everyone else, they all remain. And that means every trip risks becoming another international incident. The consequences of this go far beyond etiquette. When allies see the American president dismissing their traditions, their leaders, and their institutions, trust erodes. When adversaries watch these moments unfold, they see opportunities to exploit. And when the global public sees repeated breaches of decorum, it shapes how they perceive not just Trump, but the United States. One man's behavior becomes the reputation of an entire country. That is the risk. That is the cost. So what does this mean right now? It means that once again, the United States is facing embarrassment on the world stage. Once again, foreign policy is being overshadowed by personal behavior. Once again, the American people pay the price for a leader who cannot or will not adapt to the standards of diplomacy. Allies shake their heads. Critics point fingers. And adversaries smile quietly in the background. Because every time this happens, America's position weakens just a little more. The question now is whether this pattern will continue unchecked, because if it does, the long-term consequences could be serious. The United Kingdom is one of America's closest partners. If Trump cannot manage a relationship grounded in centuries of shared history, what does that signal about his ability to manage relationships in more complex, volatile regions? What does it mean for NATO, for trade negotiations, for crisis diplomacy in times of war or disaster? The stakes are enormous, and the signals being sent are deeply troubling. All eyes are now on how this latest episode will unfold. Will there be diplomatic fallout? Will British officials issue quiet complaints behind closed doors? Will the American public begin to question whether their representation abroad is strengthening or weakening the country's standing? These are the questions that will shape the next 48 hours, because this is not just about optics, it's about credibility. And credibility once lost is not easily restored. The irony here is that Trump himself often speaks about strength, about projecting power, about putting America first. But true strength on the world stage does not come from shoving your way to the front of a photo op or ignoring the traditions of allies. True strength comes from respect, from reliability, from behaving like you've been there before. Because the truth is, Trump has been there before, and yet each time he repeats the same mistakes. For now, the world watches, the allies watch, the adversaries watch, and the American people, whether they realize it or not, bear the weight of these actions. Every breach of protocol, every dismissive gesture, every moment of disregard becomes part of the narrative of who America is in the 21st century. That is what is at stake. We will continue following this story closely. Because the implications are not small, they are not temporary. They touch on the future of U.S. foreign relations, the stability of alliances, and the credibility of America on the global stage. And those are stakes that matter to every American, no matter their politics. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next report. And as always, drop your thoughts in the comments below. How should America handle these breaches of decorum?